Inside the Story with 60 Minutes producer Ashley Veely.
Did it hit me?
Yeah, it's really good, and it's super wide.
Ashley, you went to the border of South Texas with Scott Pelley and a 60 Minutes crew. Mm-hmm. What were you trying to see for yourself down there?
We were really trying to get a sense of what the whole migration picture looked like, up close and personal.
We wanted to roll video once they crossed through there.
We wanted to see if we would come across anything while there, thinking, well, it's probably not going to happen. What are the chances?
And it did happen.
Oh, it happened. We saw everything unfold before us pretty much in a 5-day span. We saw dead migrant bodies along the side of a ranch. We saw men crawling out of a truck who were being smuggled above, a cab and trying to make their way north. And we saw migrants, 40 migrants in one tiny hour span, pouring across the border, coming up from the river into McAllen, Texas.
Did you witness them being detained?
Yes. Something that was quite incredible was they started to ask them to take off, the men, the belts, all the shoelaces, the women, the hair ties or anything. We had no idea what was going on. We were saying, what are they doing? Why are they being so thorough with this? Because they had had experiences in the past where a lot of these migrants, these folks were taking those items once they got into the back of a truck or the van or into the detention center and using them sometimes to harm themselves or sometimes attempt suicide.
Is she going to be loaded up?
Yeah, you can load them. These are ready to go.
Even children, they were taking the shoes and shoelaces off of little 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds.
I understand there was a moment where some of the Border Patrol agents mistook you and other 60 Minutes crew members as part of the group of migrants.
That was so strange. We're standing there and a new Border Patrol agent comes out of a van and comes up to us and sort of moves us over and starts to speak to us in Spanish. And we're looking at him sort of confused. So we had this moment of, oh my God, okay, this is not good. And I can't even imagine what they're thinking or going through at this point, even though I had this beat of possibility that I was going to be put into a van and going to a detention center. Yeah, it was crazy.
Let's talk about other things that you saw firsthand.
Yeah.
You went to the Laredo checkpoint.
Yes. The Laredo checkpoint sits about 29 miles north of the border and has become sort of the epicenter, one of the epicenters for the trucks coming through carrying migrants. They have almost 2 million vehicles coming through every single year.
So they're overwhelmed.
They are completely overwhelmed. And as we were standing there, an agent starts flapping at me from afar. So I'm like, come on. So I take off with the crew and we get over there and it turns out a dog had sniffed out human cargo.
People inside.
Burned in, how many? Two.
And sure enough, 2 men had crawled up inside of this truck and were catching a ride through this checkpoint. And,
Stowaways.
And we're stowaways and were apprehended right in front of us.
255, west side, Ryan.
We saw death at the side of a highway, which is another story.
Where was that?
We were driving down the highway, and I was in a vehicle with our cameraman, David Gladstone, and David Gladstone says, body. And I'm like, what? No. And we pull over, and there's 2 men, 2 dead bodies right next to the fence of a ranch. And one was just over the fence, and the other one was on the other side.
So one had made it over?
One had made it over, one had not. You could see there, right in the sand, that there were several footprints that had come from the fence over to the highway. And when the Border Patrol agent, when we asked him about this, he said, well, this indicates to me that these 2 men were with a larger group They were making a run for it to the highway to connect with a ride, and these two men didn't make it. We were told they had died within the hour. But again, it's just this moment of, oh my God, like we're standing next to dead bodies of migrants and we're here a couple days and this is what we're seeing, and this is what these folks coming from Central America, coming from Mexico, they know going into this journey that they could easily meet with their death.